What comes to mind when you hear the word Cuba? Castro? Communism? Old cars? Missiles? I needed to see more. I needed to see the real Cuba. See what's going on inside. The two-bedroom apartment is basic. There's a 55-year-old fridge built in the US and only 3 things hanging on the wall. A picture of relatives who have departed for Miami, Jesus at the Last Supper, and a picture with El Comandante himself. With Jesus and Fidel watching our every move, the mother of the house declined my request for an on-camera interview. Her kids were willing to talk on camera as long as we didn't get political. Viewers should take every interview in this pod with a grain of salt. These kids are way too smart to say anything negative.
El fin de semana puedo salir a algún lugar, al cine, al teatro.
Me gusta salir a las discotecas, ir a los conciertos, por supuesto.
Las personas son amistosas. Claro, siempre se tiene que tener cuidado, depende de la hora y todo, ¿no? Pero siempre hay mucha alegría en la calle.
I was curious to see if he got TV Marti, an anti-Castro U.S. government-sponsored network based out of Miami. Trying to win the hearts and minds of the Cuban people costs taxpayers $21 million a year.
Canal 2 está el canal educativo 1.
The Cuban government jams its signals so well that no one I spoke to had ever even seen the network.
El canal educativo 2 que ahora están retransmitiendo las aventuras esta semana.
¿Hay internet en la casa?
No, no tenemos internet en la casa.
¿Por qué?
No es permitido tener internet en la casa porque no sé.
After these stuffy interviews, I was more than ready to hit the timeless, rhythmic streets of Havana. The only company allowed to advertise in Cuba is the Cuban government, so I hope you like revolutionary slogans. Fidel we know. Jose Marti was a poet and the national hero of Cuba. The 5 heroes are alleged Cuban spies currently being held in 5 different US prisons. And last but certainly not least, there's Che Guevara, the photogenic rebel. This guy's been dead since 1967 and the ladies are still all over him. I couldn't help but wonder what this guy's secret is. But the propaganda doesn't end there. This line should sound familiar. It says, anyone who harbors a terrorist is a terrorist. It refers to Luis Posada Carriles, the mastermind behind an attack on a Cuban airliner in 1976 that killed 73 innocent people, and who is now walking the streets of Miami as a free man. Apparently, he's also starring in a movie with Count Bushila called The Murderer. Finally, some propaganda for the kids. They're not at all scared of you, Mr. Imperialist. Bloqueo is how the Cubans refer to the US trade embargo, which provides a perfect scapegoat for all of Cuba's economic problems.
Nos llevamos bien con todo el mundo. Pero con los Estados Unidos. Ay,
¿Qué opinas?
que es muy malo, es muy malo.
¿Por qué?
Porque nos ha tenido bloqueado todo el tiempo.
¿Por qué tantos cubanos quieren ir ahí?
Porque esos cubanos son avariciosos. Ellos piensan que allá no se pasa trabajo y se pasa trabajo bien.
Si yo fuera de Cuba, no me gustaría ir para ahí. Sí. No me gusta el sistema de vida que se vive ahí, no me gusta, no sé. Creo que es un poco, no sé, sucio. Todo es muy aparente. Una pregunta muy fuerte. En Estados Unidos, donde quiera, están esperando todo eso como cosa buena. Quisieran ya que se fuera, porque están esperando entrar.
¿Piensa que los Estados Unidos van a invadir o...?
Sí, yo creo que sí, que ellos están esperando eso enseguida, para enseguida.
I decided to take a drive to the place where the U.S. invaded in 1961, a place we know as the Bay of Pigs, but is known in Cuba as Playa Girón. Here the CIA sent a small battalion of Cuban exiles, or mercenaries as they're known in Cuba, in an aborted attempt to take over the island. The only result of this mission were hundreds of dead and wounded people on both sides. This sign behind me says, Girón, the first defeat of Yankee imperialism in Latin America. Today, Playa Girón is actually a beautiful beach town. Not much else going on. This place is laid back. I thought it was laid back until I met this woman, who was around during the time of the first attack, and is ready for the next one. ¿Usted tiene una arma?
No, nosotros la tenemos, pero cuando hay un caso de guerra, nos la dan para defendernos. Cada 4 meses y así, nos dan una práctica de ese día de la defensa. Nosotros estamos amenazados por los Estados Unidos y entonces nosotros estamos preparándonos para un caso de guerra eso.
¿Cree en el comunismo? ¿Usted cree en esto?
Más o menos.
¿Más o menos?
Sí. ¿Y usted qué cree de Fidel?
¿Yo?
¿Sí?
I left this one-horse town. I wanted to find at least one thing the Americans and Cubans have in common, and I found it. It's a Yankee cap. ¿Por qué te gusta esta gorra? ¿Por qué?
Son buenos. El mejor club que ha pasado por el béisbol americano.
¿Yankees también son imperialistas o...?
Ah, no, pues eso no tiene nada que ver con la política. Nos metemos en eso. Es
el béisbol.
El béisbol.
Baseball.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jacks. I don't care if I ever get back. They don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Ticket prices are pretty cheap. We paid about $1 to get in here, which is about 20 cents, 25 cents. And as you can see, I got the best seat in the house. After the game, I jumped into a 1948 Dodge. Once inside the car, I heard about a different Cuba.
Esto no es fácil.
No entiendo el
Vivir en Cuba no es fácil, vaya. ¿Me entiendes? No se puede más descargar turistas.
¿Por qué?
Porque está prohibido. Te quieren decomisar hasta el carro, te quieren quitar hasta el carro.
This cabbie risked losing his car for $3. While Cubans will get free education, health care, and their daily bread, medicine shelves are empty, houses are crumbling. Not all buildings are created equal, nor are all jobs. The best ones, I hear, are in Cuba's largest industry, tourism. Package tourists, easily identified by their yellow hotel bracelets, flock to Cuba from all over the world, except the US. And everyone is trying to get a piece of the action. The more desperate women prostitute themselves to tourists. Others make crafts for markets. Old men stand on the corner hawking cigarettes and toothpaste. Dried fruit goes for $1. ¿Cuánto es por uno?
$1.
And lighters that we would consider garbage are refurbished in Cuba. This mysterious building I'm walking towards is the Office of U.S. Interests in Cuba. It is not an embassy since the US and Cuba have no diplomatic relations. This is the place where 20,000 Cubans get processed for visas under a lottery system to legally enter the US. It is also the playground of a tit-for-tat game between Fidel and the US government. The billboards we saw earlier are right across the street, and Castro has erected a flag forest of 138 flags from every year of Cuba's anti-imperialist struggle, and they just happen to block all sight of the front of the building. Heavy security, heavy. qué pasa aquí? No, no, no. ¿Pero por qué hay tantos pisos aquí? ¿Tú sabes? No? The guard told me to move to the other side of the street, which I did. But just before leaving, I saw a man exiting the building, and I ran up to him to talk. Señor, hola. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué hiciste ahí? ¿Qué?
Solicitar para viajar
¿Para quedar?
permanente.
¿Pero cuándo quieres viajar para ir?
Cuando ellos lo autoricen,
Cuando le autorizan, ya te vas. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué?
por situación económica.
Yeah.
Documentos.
Oh, documents. They want our documents. Here. Canadian.
¿A quién usted le tiraba foto?
¿Cómo?
Foto aquí.
Nada.
¿Y qué hace aquí?
Turista.
Disculpa la mano.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Totally sick of propaganda and politics, I walked across the street to the only place I could escape it. Havana's famous boardwalk, El Malecón. I joined the many people who come here every day to watch the sunset, talk to friends, or meditate on life. As a Cuban Coast Guard ship patrols the waters, I realize that politics here is as inescapable as the island itself. I feel so privileged that I've been able to see this beautiful island with my own eyes, and even more privileged that I'm able to leave it behind.